Scott?
Oh, it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
Take me out to Twitchy Dolphin Media presents Let's Get To. It's baseball from sea to shining sea by the team that brings you home. And now, your host, James Christopher.
That brings you home. We're the team that gives you a banging version of "Hey, take me out to the ball game" to kick it off. This is Let's Get To Live. We have our very special guest, Eric Schmidt, the owner and general manager of your Spearfish Sasquatch. I'm wearing the lid. Eric, thanks for jumping on. How's it going?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on. This is great.
And speaking of having people on, I don't know what that means, our two regulars for our live broadcast, the Dad Hat Chronicles himself, Ed Rivera. How are you?
Yo, what up, everybody?
Ed, why aren't the Guardians better hosts when my team comes to town?
You know what? I'm sorry. I apologize. Sorry, not sorry. How's that?
Right, I get it. And Scotty Mack is coming at you. Scotty, the Cardinals are still bad. You're muted. We can't hear a word you're saying.
Oh, he is so sad that the Cardinals are so bad that he's
old man it. Scott's in the film and TV industry too.
He looks so frustrated.
Yeah, you figured things out while we get down to talking to Eric Schmidt about the Spearfish Sasquatch. Eric, Collegiate Summer League, Independence League, which I want to talk about that too and see how that's going. But first of all, how are things looking for the Sasquatch and the league up there in Spearfish? Eric, you there?
Yeah, sorry, chopped up a little bit on me. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, just how's everything going up there in Spearfish with you guys in the Independence League?
Yeah, things are going really well here. On our 5th season now here in Spearfish, we're really excited about that. And outside of rain canceling 4 of our first 8 games, things are going well. The league's strong, and we're excited to get the second year and see.
We were having all kinds of issues tonight. I think Eric's got some draggy internet. We'll figure that out in a minute. Ed,
you're me now.
But you and I are good.
Hey,
right?
Scotty. Hey,
that's good.
Yeah, sorry, guys. Yeah. Hey, look, I'm having all sorts of trouble tonight. My desktop crashed on me. I couldn't get connected to the internet. Swapped over to the laptop. I mean, it's been a fun night. So it's a my apologies, guys. But how great to be here and how great to have Eric with us.
It is great to have Eric with us. Eric, I want to talk Independence League with you real quick. It looks like it's continuing to strengthen, to grow. We had the Casper Spuds on there, and he did throw some smack talk your way. I don't know if you saw the episode, but he called you out a little bit. But how's everything looking for the league?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, Jeff and I, we like to mess around with each other back and forth. And Jeff, on your podcast, he doesn't shut his mouth. He just keeps talking and talking and talking. So there's a lot of stuff coming out, but some of it just doesn't mean anything. No, Jeff's a great guy, and we have a lot of fun back and forth. And I don't know what our record is head to head, but
I would imagine you guys would be doing good.
But overall, the league's going great. We have a new team in here, South Dakota, and it's exciting to see them back. Their familiar face that we used to clash against a lot. So to have that in-state rival is fun, and just it's great to see all these teams thriving and kind of honing in on what they do well. And I'm excited to see what the rest of the year brings for everybody.
One of the big takeaways I had, and I want these guys to get in on the questions too, but I think my biggest moment was it was like 5th inning or whatever it is. The YMCA is playing. Team players from the dugout are up in the crowd leading it. I see one player with somebody's kid dancing. I mean, it felt like the weirdest family reunion ever. How long does it take for them to get kind of in that mode? I'm assuming it's still probably pretty awkward at this point because everybody's new and that kind of thing. So how long does it take to them to really get fired up for that?
Yeah, I would say about halfway through the season. It just takes time for all of our guys to get here to Spearfish, and then they got to kind of gel as a team first, right? And then once that kind of happens, they really loosen up a lot and get to know our crowd and our fan base outside of their host families that they spend time with. And then the kids, they're always right next to the dugout. They're talking to the guys when they're on deck and stuff like that. And it doesn't take long for the guys that like that kind of thing to grab a hold of it and run with it. And then there are other guys that are just more business and want to stay to themselves, and that's fine. We don't force anything upon anybody. We just really want it to happen organically. And that's what you saw happen last summer.
And you guys had the host of the year last year. Ed, Scott, any questions for Eric about Spearfish before we jump into some of our other topics of the episode?
Yeah, I was wanting to ask Eric, I mean, do you have problems getting guys up there? So I've noticed that this year on your team, you got a couple of guys from South Korea on your team, but I think they came from New Mexico Institute of some. I'm just wondering, how do you, I mean, Spearfish, South Dakota, to a lot of people, that's not exactly an industrial capital. So do you have to convince any of these guys, or are they generally from the area and they're like, yeah, I'm cool, let's go to Spearfish?
That's a good question. I like that one.
I froze him.
Hey, Scotty, you're cutting out a little bit, but I think you're asking about recruiting. Is that right? Kind of how we get guys?
Yeah, exactly. And if you have any trouble getting them up there to South Dakota, because I noticed you had a couple of guys from South Korea even on your team this year.
Yeah, no, honestly, the recruiting side of thing has come pretty easy. And every year it gets easier and easier because it's not so much about convincing a player here as much as convincing a coach to trust us, right? And we've built those relationships with those coaches over the years, and they're telling these guys, hey, I got a place for you to go. It's going to be a great experience for you. It's a picture for us that it's not what, people.
Okay.
Prairie here in the Black Hills, and there's a lot to do.
So I have two questions.
So, yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Eric. I apologize. I think I froze him this time, Scotty.
I think we're efforting that. One of the things that I do want to talk about with everybody, including when Eric gets back on, guys. First of all, I was really proud to say that that yesterday they had the boycott game in Oakland, and it was kind of cool because we were one of the first outlets to break that. Stu Clary came on the same show that Ed did, although not together, to talk a little bit about it. And I think in intentionally very shitty timing, that's very 2023. That's also the day the City Council of Las Vegas announced that they have voted to agree on that. Shocker.
Right.
Let's jump into that, Ed.
So it's funny because I was looking at I'm looking at it from 2 points of view, right? I'm looking at it from the baseball, Major League Baseball, and then two, I'm looking at it from what Oakland has been doing, right? Because Rob Manfred, which by the way, listen, I've said my things about Rob Manfred. I'm not a fan of the guy or what he's done so far when it comes to this, right? He's done some. I'm going to give him some credit, some things that have worked for Major League Baseball, but when it comes to this, I think it's been blundered left and right? Like he, going out and says like, well, the city of Oakland really didn't do anything. And I'm like, actually, they kind of did. They put a whole proposal out there for not only for development of a baseball stadium, but for commercial development, for residential development. So, I mean, this whole thing was like, they were talking about like, oh, no, Oakland hasn't done anything. Actually, Oakland has done much more above and beyond. They've gone over what Vegas has done, because Vegas, you're leasing. You don't even own the land. You're leasing the land and you're leasing the stadium, which is, when I'm going to go look at it, I'm like, it doesn't really compute in my opinion.
I don't know about you, Scott. It only computes in one area, and that is just another TV market. To me, that's the only area where this makes sense to me.
Absolutely. It's money. It's money. And
Oh,
if
for
it's
sure.
not, if it's not money, then it's not a business, and it is a business. So Rob Manfred can feel sorry for Oakland all day, just like he said, I feel sorry for him.
Not
Okay.
really.
Right
Well,
before
I
he
feel-
said he doesn't
I
really
feel-
care about whether players wear pride stuff, which I thought was
Yeah.
cool.
I feel sorry for people that I have to pass that are in the left-hand lane and don't know how to get over. And I feel real sorry for them while I'm flipping them off and driving around. But I don't give them a second thought 2 minutes down the road.
Correct.
And that's kind of where Manfred is at as well. I feel real sorry for Oakland fans. And he's doing that just in case there's a need to get back in that market later. It's saving face. It is all about the dollar. It has been. Look, guys, I mean, we could trace the A's franchise all the way back to Philadelphia. They move around, and they're going to move around again. I'm just really surprised that the city of Las Vegas came out with that announcement the day after the Golden Knights won the Stanley Cup, because I thought they'd all still be hungover. I'm shocked.
So you're saying maybe it was supposed to come out the day before, and they just chose not to necessarily shit on the people of Oakland.
Can I ask a question?
The sober person in the office, Beatrice, she was the only one there. She didn't get
It's like, I don't care about hockey. Do you think that, like, if they wanted to hide, the announcement from Vegas, don't you think they would have actually put that announcement like while the game was going on or the day of the game?
Exactly.
So that way you hide it and don't wait until the day after, and then everybody's gonna, like us, are gonna be talking about that.
Yeah. Exactly. No, I mean, it's all eyes are already on Vegas. And so they're like, hey, you guys are looking at us anyway. Yeah, we want to. I mean, look, guys, Vegas would have had a sports franchise years and years and years ago, but there's a hang up about gambling. I don't know what it is, but in the last 3 years or so, all these states are saying, okay, and it's now cool. And there's a bunch of gambling ads. And I wonder if 30 years, if they're not going to look at it like we look
if you're
at
not a
Twitter
player,
ads.
though, because if you're a player and you gamble, you're kicked out of the whole league. Doesn't matter, really
Correct.
matter what, you know what I mean? So it's like, yes, we accept gambling responsibly, except if you're a player or a coach or you work for a team.
Or your name's Pete
What about
Rose.
you, man? You want to weigh in on that? Like, any thoughts? Just that revoice boycott that happened. I thought it was super cool because listeners of the show went based on the episode that Ed, Stu, and I put out about it. Stu was the guy who kind of was the brainchild behind it. But just overall, looking at that from just somebody who owns a baseball team and that team has a community connection. What are your thoughts on the whole Oakland business?
I don't think he likes it either. That's my guess. I'm guessing that's that. Like, I feel bad for my brother, to be honest with you. He's a huge Oakland A's fan. He's been an Oakland A's fan from like the very early beginnings in the 90s when we moved here to the U.S. and even before that, right? For someone like him to be like, oh man,
Yeah, and look, I think Scott brought up something important that said, like, there is a certain degree of disingenuous about talking about the history of the A's in Oakland because it is a transient team.
Philadelphia, Kansas City, Oakland.
Yeah. And
hard to get at the same time. I get that. It's hard to.
I also, guys, I hate to the reverse boycott. What a great idea. And I'm glad that people did that, but
kind of a little too late.
It didn't even, I mean, based on what I've seen, Oakland Coliseum seats 63,000 people for baseball. It can get up to 63,000 and less than half of that was there.
Well, look, I mean, first of all, it seats 63,000, which is part of the problem.
Exactly, Jim. You're exactly right. But they're not going to. This is the stadium, right? This is the stadium,
right? Exactly.
And I just there are cities in America that are headed the wrong direction. St. Louis is one of them, right? Detroit's one of them. Oakland may be in that boat too, and others are coming the other ways. And it's just the yin and the yang and the give and the take of life.
I'm not going to criticize the boycott because they didn't get 63,000 people to the ballpark. I think they sent their message. The message was because this Fisher guy will like to tell you that they don't support the team. Well, they quit supporting the team when they traded with team control, Matt Carpenter and all these guys. Eric, what are your thoughts on the whole Oakland thing as somebody who owns a team that's got a real community vibe to it?
Yeah, it's kind of a strange situation, but it's one we haven't seen before, right? In a lot of sports. you know, I feel for the fans of Oakland. It's been there a long time, and it's just one of those things where the owner, when you know you're not trying to win, you're not trying to put a big product, it's hard for the fans to get behind that. And you know, if nobody wants to support a loser, right?
I've been supporting a loser for quite a while,
and we lost for a lot of years, but at least we were trying on the face. And so I feel for the fans of Oakland, and I don't know. I haven't seen what you guys were talking about today about the news, but I hope they can figure something out there.
No, I think it's toast. What we were talking about is a good friend of ours organized that reverse boycott that happened, and during that game, they announced that the city council had approved the stadium. It's all over, but the crying. I guess the crying's actually started.
I will say, Jim, also historically, the fans of Oakland, I mean, if you go back, there's been few and far between times that the fans of Oakland have really had a product on the field that they could be proud of, that they knew was still going to be there in the next year.
Well,
this goes all the way back to Raleigh Fingers and Reggie Jackson.
Yeah.
If I'm a fan of Oakland,
told that even though you hit more home runs, your average dropped. So we're not.
Your average dropped. Reggie Jackson never hit over 300. He'd been a perennial all-star and the best player ever if he played in today's game. But anyway, but I think that if you're a fan of Oakland, it's kind of like from one year to the next, you're almost wondering like, okay, well, who are we going to lose this year? Who are we going to lose next year? They did it when the Bash Brothers came of age. They shipped them off. You know, Dave Stewart was the one guy that I've seen just, you know, owned the city of Oakland. But it's tough to be an A's fan. It was tough to be an A's fan where they were in Kansas City and Philadelphia as well. Tough to be an A's fan now.
Yeah, one of the things, guys, that if you didn't see the interview that Stu pointed out was he can blame the fans all he wants, but he just got one of the newer MLS teams and puts zero money into that too. Yeah. And it's a perpetual thing with him. And, you know, let's not forget that until last year, the A's were really, really good. They were in a division with
really, really tough.
Good Astros. Yeah, they were just when the Astros were doing this magical thing. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just I hate the fact that I'm 47 years old and I still look for romance in sports where there is none. Eric, you look like you have something to say.
No, I just the A's, you know, they're good every year, but it kind of reminds me of summer ball, how the roster turnover so much. I might have like 5 or 6 guys that come back every summer, right? And that's hard for a fan base to latch on to because they don't have that continuity. And the A's, man, it shouldn't be like that. It's not summer ball. It's Major League Baseball. You have to sign guys to long-term extensions and that kind of thing. And it's just a sad thing to see there.
I'm a big proponent of the idea in Major League Baseball of a salary cap and a salary floor. And
100%,
you know, like the reason why with the cap, and Scott has heard me talk. He's going to take a nap for the next 90 seconds because he knows exactly what I'm going to say. Yeah, hit the head. But you know, the NFL, because when they got the cap, they became a league that marketed all their teams relatively equally to the point they don't care who's in the Super Bowl. MLB absolutely cares who's in the Super Bowl. And the World Series, when the Astros and the Braves were in the World Series together, it was one of the lowest watched World Series ever. And the one last year when there was Astros Phillies came close. So, but they have created that monster themselves.
Yeah, they have.
With not being a league, but being an organization of 30 teams.
A regional sport. Remember, Memphis said that. It's like, this is a regional sport. This is
I
not
if you want to be homophobic or racist, then it's a regional sport.
Exactly. This is a regional sport. We're not a national sport anymore. We're the regional sport. Just wanted to clear that up.
Remember that.
Let me throw a positive spin in here, Jim. Let me take a different. You just said there's no romance in sports. There is. There's just not romance at the top professional levels,
True
right?
story.
But these guys like Eric that are out there busting their hump, they're giving romance to the fans all the time. Seriously, at that level, whether we're talking minor league ball, minor league hockey, minor league whatever, there is still romance out there. So that's one piece of good news. The other thing, I think one thing that baseball can use, Major League Baseball especially, can use more than anything is this injection of youth and excitement and everything. And guys, look,
sure.
Vegas has a history of being able to take the most mundane things and make them look really glitzy and really fancy.
Look at
Having a
Vegas
baseball
Golden
team in
Knights.
Vegas, yeah, exactly. I mean, their pregame and during the game is amazing for the Golden Knights. If they could bring that same energy to a baseball team, guys, I mean, that could be a huge boost. That's the benefit.
I got a question for Eric.
Yeah, go ahead, Ed. Go ahead.
Because I've been wanting to ask this to somebody, right? Eric, right? You are in collegiate wood bat baseball, and in my opinion, I think collegiate wood bat has grown, and it has the popularity of it. It's been nonstop growing, right? You know, you're looking at here. I'm in North Carolina. You got the Appy League. You got so many leagues, right? Why did you guys make the decision to say we're going to go collegiate wood bat instead of like perhaps maybe doing like an indie ball or anything along those lines in the area in which you guys are at?
Well, I think the first answer to that question is our geography, where we're located and the communities that we're in, right? We're not in large communities. Our town is 12, 13,000 people. You're not going to get minor league baseball here. You're not going to get professional independent league baseball here. It's just not big enough. So I think our geography and, kind of where we want to be as a league is in these towns that don't have these other sports going on for them. Like, this is the first sport in spearfish of this level. We have local Division II university, but they don't have a baseball team. So when we brought this to spearfish, it was the first time doing so, and it's taken some time to educate people just who we are and what we do. I tell everybody
collegiate wood bat is.
I'll buy your first ticket. Come check us out, because I guarantee you're going to have fun, and you'll come back.
Who doesn't love Samson?
Oh,
yeah,
gotta love Samson.
I love Samson.
I told Jim that I was going to.
My 3-year-old's a little skeptical.
I told Jim that I was going to ask you the very hard question. I'm just wanted to put that out there, Jim.
Go for it.
I'm looking. I'm on your website right now, Eric.
Uh-oh.
I don't see a dad hat, Eric. I don't see a dad hat.
Yeah. The dad.
I want to put your head up here.
Yeah, I know. The dad hats, the trucker hats are what's in around here. Everybody loves the trucker hat style. I mean, you gotta know where we're at.
All right, fine.
No dads there?
I mean, come on, Father's Day's coming up. I mean, dad hats.
It's literally, I did know that question was coming, because here on Let's Get To, we ask the tough questions. Eric.
Tough questions.
Yeah, that's right.
Tough journalism.
Well, since we're asking tough questions, I do have a question for Eric. Collegiate Wood Bat League, 3 years ago, you guys, I mean, the NIL for some of these collegiate guys didn't exist, and you're dealing with amateur athletes. Has that changed for you guys? Is it less to worry about now that's in place, or doesn't you give it a thought?
There really hasn't been much that has affected us here at this level. I mean, it's not like we're getting car dealership sponsoring guys if we recruit them in or anything like that. So that's not in play at all. I would say, it does kind of, you don't have to worry so much about like if we're doing baseball cards or something like that and selling them, that kind of thing, which we don't do. But before that, it was like a no, right? You can't put them on a baseball card and sell things like that. It all had to be given away as promos and stuff. But yeah, when that first happened, it's definitely something I keep an eye on, but it really hasn't affected us to this point.
Cool. I haven't asked anyone that before, and I think about it, but I never think about it when I have one of you guys available I could ask. So threw it out there now.
Yeah. No, it's a great question. And something, like I said, we have an eye on it, keep a pulse on it, but for the time being, it really doesn't make much of a difference to what we do here.
Gotcha.
Okay.
One of the things I was thinking about, not worried about, I don't know why I said worried, thinking about though was, we've talked about on the show before about how Major League Baseball has become a little bit sterile, a little bit generic, a little bit kind of a monolith. For as much as it's a regional sport, it doesn't always feel like a regional sport. How much of it do you guys realizing that you have to create this atmosphere both on and off the field? Do you guys kind of try to be the anti-Major League Baseball experience, a little bit more connected and down home kind of thing?
I missed the last part. Connect to Major League Baseball?
Well, just how much do you look at Major League Baseball sterility and everything else and realize that we have to be different to connect to our fans?
Yeah, I think it's something I pay attention to a lot. As as a Major League Baseball fan, I do go to a lot of those games, and it's all about business for the most part. And when you're taking kids and that kind of thing, you have to keep kids entertained, right? Like if their head's not looking this way and then that way, they're not going to sit there and watch a game for 9 innings. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
So we're very aware of how do we keep kids and their mom and dads interacted all night long, because if they're not having a good time, they're not going to come back. So it's one of those things. It's super important to always have a theme, always have super fun games going on, and promotions, you name it, just to keep it fresh and give people a reason to come back maybe 2 or 3 times a week.
How much has the Savannah Bananas affected the way that you guys do any kind of promotions or any of those, like how we call it, shenanigans or anything like that on the field and off the field?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to learn from them, but there's also a lot that they do that nobody else can touch. And so I when it comes to on-field promotions and stuff, some of that is okay to kind of emulate and kind of be inspired by,
right.
But I think some of it's unrealistic to what we do too, because we're not the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. That's not what we're trying to be. We're really trying to play games, and we're more about on the field play with stuff happening in the stands, not the other way around, which I think the Bananas are trending towards entertainment over baseball, which they do really, really well. And I think that's why they've taken it on the road, and they're having a great success. I have yet to see them in person, but it's definitely something I want to do just to experience that.
The baseball circus.
Yeah.
Bingo Long's Traveling All-Stars are back again. Here they
are. Look at you pulling that one. Oh,
man, come on. No, the one thing I'm curious about, Eric. So I haven't been to the Dakotas, right? And I want to, but I haven't been up there.
Beautiful.
Oh no, absolutely. I'm just. I mean, what are you guys? I should say, weather-wise or climate-wise, what concern are there? Any concerns up there? Because it looks like it would get like extremely windy at times in some of the places that you guys play, and that can, significantly influence a baseball game. I don't. Does any of that even come into thought?
It doesn't really come into thought, as long as it's not raining. Like we've been hit pretty hard this spring, but usually by July, at least where we're at, it kind of dries up, gets hot. It blows a little bit, but we're not talking like 30, 40 mile an hour. That's really going to affect a game. 10 to 15 tops. And the wind, it's not something that I'm ever like, oh my gosh, we can't play in this type stuff. It's more of just dodging thunderstorms throughout the summer, honestly, is the only weather that we really have a concern with.
Yeah, the good part is you can probably see a tornado coming for like 12 miles or something.
Yeah.
Spearfish is not that flat. Like North
is it not?
Flat,
see, this is me being ignorant.
Oh, it's really
we have the highest point between the Rockies and the Alps.
Oh wow!
No way.
I did not know that.
Right
I
here
just
in the
got
Black
educated.
Hills of South Dakota.
That is weird, wild stuff. And welcome to your Geography Minute on Let's Get To, brought to you
right. Fun with flags. Here we go.
Glad I could help. Well, then, see, that's going to feed my next question to Eric about where the best place to play golf up there and everything is, and if he's truly is a Cubs fan, like I've heard, and what his thoughts are on the Cubs this year. I'm just thinking about all those tough questions, Jim.
Yeah. So golf, we have 2 great courses here, Elkhorn Ridge Golf Club and Spearfish Canyon Golf Club, both great partners of ours. So I got to give them shout outs. I frequent both of them. I try to get out and hit it a little bit here and there. And then the Cubs question, man, it's one of those things. Ever since taking on this gig, I'm not able to die. I used to watch every single pitch, and it's not like that anymore for me. But I think they're in that kind of don't know what we're going to do phase. If, it depends on how this next month goes. They might sell, they might buy, they might just stay put. I really don't know what they're going to do. I would like to see them, not sell off by any means, because I think they have some younger talent that they can build around. And they got a ton of money come next year that they can go out and add an Ohtani if they really wanted to. So it'll be interesting to see how this year goes. Like going into it, I was thinking 500 at best. And right now I think they're 5 or 6 under that, maybe 7 or 8. So they got a ways to go. But no surprises this year for me, I guess. No surprises.
Yeah, the whole division feels like first one to 82 wins gets the division. I mean,
As a Cleveland fan, guys, I'm okay with this. I just want you guys to know this. As a Cleveland fan, Cubs already took a championship from us. I'm okay with you guys, just being under 500. Although we are also under 500, so we're like, can't even speak too much. My team sucks.
Yeah. Right here are my 3 World Series games that I went to in Chicago.
Oh God, it still hurts. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna cry today.
My team's pretty good, so they
Thanks.
one of the weirdest walk-off.
I got nothing, Jim. I got Arkansas not in the College World Series. I got the Cardinals 15 games below 500. I'm on suicide watch, basically, is what I'm saying.
We had, because I don't know if you saw the highlights of last night's walk-off, which was bizarre, but I was also at the
I got my opinions on that, by the way.
Bunt walk-off as well. In the 11, it's like I've been to some weird walk-offs. You said you had an opinion on that?
I do.
Go for it.
I think he should have been called out.
I disagree, and I'll tell you why. Not just because of all that stuff back there.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah.
If you go look at the replay real slow, the ball does not get deflected until the first baseman actually makes contact with the back of his batting helmet to catch the ball.
Yeah, that's fine. But he was still in the lane that it should have been cleared. He should have been on the other one. Remember that. That's why they have that path.
But I'm saying when he crossed I know that the picture that Dave Martinez showed.
Oh, I'm not paying attention to him. I'm talking about,
There's a reason why he didn't show pictures later in the play. They showed with him barely halfway out of the box. Looking at it, I think it was the right call, particularly since he was over the base.
Major League Baseball is going to tell you that too, because they're not going to want to, create any controversy either.
Of course not.
I've got a fix to it. Guys. Seriously,
let's do it.
And in all seriousness, I do think it's something that baseball is going to look at next in the rules changes, and that is adding that orange base to the foul side.
Okay,
of first
softball.
Base. No, but how many? I mean, if one guy, especially one guy who's at a collegiate level, busting his butt during the summer, gets his ankle stomped on, right?
That's
and
true.
He's out for the year. Why not just add that extra base if we're so worried about player safety? That will keep them to the outside of the bag in foul territory.
I see that. Yeah,
that eliminates the discussion.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, I think that's a valid thing, and I could see that happening down the line for sure. Speaking of walk-offs, you guys see that Stanford one to get into the College World Series?
Yeah.
Hey, Eric.
Oh,
sit down. Or you're about to have permanent technological difficulties, okay? And Scott, by the way, it's not like Arkansas's, because everybody had complained about that stadium with Twilight and the LEDs and all that stuff. So it isn't like Arkansas in broad daylight going, should we catch it, Bubba? I don't know.
Broad daylight. It was 10:30 at night in Omaha when we dropped the pop-up and lost the series to Oregon State, essentially. That's why it's not different. Yours was just to get there. Ours was to win the whole thing. See, we maximize the amount of hope we give our fans, so when they yank it away, it hurts more.
I can see that. Hey, Eric.
Of the University of Texas when you asked that question?
Hey, Eric, how do you, talking about,
rules
changes and everything.
Eric, did you go to bed at University of Texas when you asked that question?
What? I don't know.
Hostile witness.
Signal got cut off there for a second.
Yeah, Jim's a UT alum, so he definitely saw the Stanford walk-off.
He saw it, and he went and go drinking afterwards and cry.
And just throwing it out there, we had a kid last year with us that goes to Stanford, played for us. He was an incoming freshman this fall. Played for us last summer. So kind of cool to have that connection. Sorry, Jim. It happens.
Well, no,
hashtag sorry, not sorry.
If either of you listen to, and you should, when football season rolls around, y'all fight Suey. I was very open with the fact that I thought this was a middle of the road baseball team this year. Everything they did this year was really I think over what I expected.
You
There-
guys overachieved. As many people as you lost last year.
Yeah.
With what you had coming back and then fresh faces you had coming in. You
Yeah.
guys overachieved this year for
Hey,
sure.
listen,
Played a lot of that major league game. Who is this fucking guy? I don't know.
as a small school guy, right? Kent State, I can't say it's like we had our chance to make it to the to the regionals. We got beat up by a lesser team, and we were the number one team in the conference. And I feel not bad for you guys. Sorry, I mean,
What
my team
happens?
is out.
And my favorite though is that my daughter Jordan's real into baseball, but she doesn't really watch a lot of college baseball. And she called me and she's like, "I'm seeing these teams like Oral Roberts in Wake Forest, and they just sound made up. They don't."
Wake Forest, which by the way is not in Wake Forest.
Who knew?
I'm just glad Oral Roberts was named after him and not his twin brother. Let that one marinate. and sit for a while.
there a little bit.
There's so many directions to go, and we're not going to go them on this quasi-family show. Before we get to our fun random questions to stump Eric, I did want to talk about some of the new rules that I've noticed. First of all, last night against the Astros in that walk-off play, they're not shifting, but I do think it's disingenuous to bring two outfielders in to be on the infield and basically have a 6-man infield. And it's like, okay, you can't shift this way, but you're okay to shift this way.
They're playing within the rules. I've been told this many times that they're playing within the rules.
It was a ground ball right to the left fielder that caused the issues on the play. But no, I mean, I actually look. I don't like the times you throw over rule, but first of all, I've not really even seen it come into play yet. I don't know if y'all have. I'm not really upset with some of the other rules. And for as much as the pitch clock is a thing, and we wouldn't have had Kirk Gibson's home run in '88 if we had the pitch clock, I actually think they've actually been pretty good for baseball. Eric, what do you think?
Yeah, overall, I like it. I do like the game being a little bit faster. And the bases rule, I think it creates more action. The stolen bases are up, which is really fun to see. The pitch clock doesn't bother me one bit, really. And then the throw over, I don't mind it either, because I think that rule of the third one, you still got it. It still keeps the runner honest. It's not like he could just take off first move.
Because you still got that third one over, yeah.
Yeah, so I like all of those. The only rule that I really haven't been a fan of is the extra inning runner, the ghost runner rule. I don't understand why we're doing that in the 10th inning of the game.
I don't like it either. One of the things that it reminds me, Scott, of that inning, of that rule. I won't ask Eric. I won't ask Ed this because he's an American League fan, so he's been behind in baseball for much longer than we are now. But it reminds us of how bad they are at fundamental baseball, moving a runner, doing these little things. Whenever, it just reminds me.
Hold on a second. Hold on. I'm a huge fan of small ball. I'm a fan of bunting. I'm a fan of the game being a small ball game. 100%. I might be in the minority, but I'm not against the runner on second. However, I do believe that if we're going to do this, it should be after like the 10th inning or the 11th inning.
Yeah.
Right. And then if you're going to give him the runner, the ghost runner, maybe not put him on second, put him on first. Right.
Yeah.
And then at that point, it makes it a lot more even overall.
Right. I've always said, let's play it straight up in the 10th. In the 11th, start a guy at first. And then when we get to the 12th, throw a guy on second. Like, let's
there it is.
Gradually
I'm good with this.
Well, Scott had an idea that teams apparently listen to him without listening to him. But it's like, if the concern is the game is going too long in extra innings, we've seen the leagues do the home run derby, and
it's been fun.
It's fun. It reminds you of a hockey. Isn't that how you end a hockey game?
3-on-3. Well, hockey game, you go to the shootout after.
You go to the 3-on-3, then shootout, right?
I would be fine with play some extra inning ball. At least get through the 12th inning, and then you can go launch, see who can hit the ball the farthest. But whatever. I love I can't stand the home run derby. I'm with you guys. I'm not
the minor league level first, because
Yeah.
You've got families that want to get home, right? That's
Definitely.
I
Definitely.
have a 5-year-old. Yeah, I get it, man.
yeah.
That girl,
Yeah.
after a certain time, she turns into a little. You know what I mean? I love that kid to death. You know what I mean? But like, listen, kid, I need you to calm down.
There is a time that's set on their clock, and when you reach that time, there's no more reasoning. You're
Yeah,
done.
just they turn like terrorists, man. I don't know what it is, man.
No, I think, yeah. I mean, in hockey they do the 3-on-3, and then you go for a shootout.
Okay,
and I guess I'm okay, you know, with a home run derby at the lower levels after the 12th inning. I don't know, but it seems like, you know, if you're speeding up the game anyway, and we've seen, you know, some games come in at sub 2 hours, 9-inning games.
Yeah.
Play 3 more innings and spend 25 more minutes out there. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kinda how I look at it.
We got to remember these are professional athletes getting paid a lot of money. They're not worried about 15 extra pitches like they are at the lower levels. Like,
Well, no, I
Exactly.
mean, look, guys,
Story.
my position is we would do nothing to mess it up. I'm just saying, if we're gonna mess it up, let's really mess it up.
I'm with Eric
yeah.
though. Like, you know, put him, you know, after the 10th inning, right? You know, and 10th inning is over, 11th inning, put him on first, right?
Yeah.
Give it a couple of innings, and then after that, if nothing has happened, put the
Put a
runner on second.
But it's
I'll
got to
tell
be
you-
your catcher, right? Your catcher has to be the guy that starts the inning at first.
Oh God, not our
Well-
catchers. Our catchers suck.
Exactly.
That's the one thing about starting off runners at first base is the double play ball would still be in
In
play.
play. Absolutely.
I would have a guy that throws nothing but a bunch of sinkers sitting out there in the bullpen waiting. Like, oh, you have a 72% ground ball rate? Well, come on in.
Here we
Come
go.
on.
Hey, but again, that goes
Time to
part
shine.
into like you got to plan ahead, right? You got to plan ahead. That's the chess game that you're playing against the other team at that point.
That's actually a really good point that Ed makes. I mean, you've taken away, you know, we have taken away the small ball, the move of the runner over to second, lay down the bunt. We've taken away so much with the DH, with the 3-batter minimum rule for pitchers. There's a lot of the higher up you get. It seems like at the lower levels, the managers have to be more creative than they have to be at the major league level. It really does.
Yep.
Especially if I'm managing it at a Spearfish game. If I'm managing Spearfish, I've got to think about, okay, well, Johnny's on a 50 pitch limit and Bob's on a 60 pitch limit. This guy only wants him to hit 40. These guys aren't supposed to get reps in. I caught this guy yesterday. I can't catch him again today. You know, there's a lot more to juggle at a lower level.
100%.
But the creativity, the higher up you go, is different things. It's no longer moving the small ball. It's, okay, what guy do I want to stick around in case this does go to the extra innings, and a guy that, you know, because if whether a runner's at first or second or wherever, I don't want to bring in a pitcher in that inning that takes forever to get the ball to home plate.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Let's get a quick move. Let's try to get ground balls induced. So there is creativity. It's just changed.
Mhm.
Yeah, I definitely know that I sound like an old man yelling at a cloud. I get it.
You and Paul. Our
Fair.
friend Paul Caputo. The
Yeah.
two of you is like, you get
He was
off
so
my lawn.
excited for a slow offensive game, wasn't he? But look, I'll be honest. Like, for as much as I was afraid that, like, I don't like the pitch clock at minor league games that I'm visiting. So if we could just
See that, and that's what I've heard, right? Like,
Hey,
you know,
buddy, Tim's
you
here.
don't like the pitch clock if you're there. You like it if you're watching it on TV, or you like it where you're there if you're a parent. Other than that, nobody else likes it.
So
Yeah.
let me throw this question out there to Eric. I think you guys still end of 7th inning alcohol sales in unless you're shooting off fireworks. Is that right? And it goes.
Yeah, that's
Later.
typically what we do. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, are you looking at more adjustments concession wise, or because obviously, if 20 minutes are shaved off the game at the back end, you guys are taking some hit, if nothing else, at the concession stand. I didn't know if there's any adjustments the league's looking at or anything that might be needed.
Yeah, we're not really looking at that because our games have always been fairly quick. That's not an issue for this level. These guys work fast for the most part. Every now and then you'll get somebody that works slow, but we had a kid we were throwing against us the other night, and he quick pitched I don't know how many times. Our guys weren't even in the box. It was ridiculous, and he was just he got the ball back and he was ready to go. I've never seen anything quite like it, honestly.
Can you guys send some of those guys to the prospect league and get some of these 3.5-hour games to go a little bit dark?
Whoa,
Dude, no, a 3.5 hour prospect league game is like watching paint dry. Much love to all our friends and the Hoots and the Corn Belters and all.
I mean, there is something about those 14 to 11 games that I love, but man, let me tell you, that no, in all seriousness, though, I mean, it is a valid point that at the collegiate in the collegiate woodbat leagues, each league is different in how fast they work the game and what level of players they have coming through it, at whether it's a pitching league, a hitting league, a power league, a gap league, a speed league. You do see a lot of differences.
Yeah, and I think you hit it on the head. Like if you're more of a pitching league and you're pumping the zone with strikes because you have quality arms, the games go a lot faster, right? And
yes,
I think we're now, where we're at in our evolution as a league and team is we're getting better arms, and so we see a lot more strikes being thrown, and there's not 8 walks a game anymore like maybe in the early years there was.
Right.
It was tough.
Yeah.
So let me ask you,
one of the problems that these independent leagues have, and actually speaking of Paul, Ed, when we were at Rocky Mountain, we were talking to their GM, and it's like clockwork. The first couple of weeks of a season, the MLB will sign anybody with a good breaking ball or anybody that has any degree of gas. And so by the time you get into the dog days of summer, you're left with guys who just can't throw at all. And that's why you get, Scott, those 14 to 11 games.
Yep.
Hey, Eric, and I know we touched on this earlier, but like I wanted to get back because we were losing you there. When it comes to recruiting your players, like, do you work with your coach on this? How does your team work as far as getting players to come play for you guys?
Yeah, for us specifically, the Sasquatch, it's kind of a two-headed monster between myself and our coaching staff. So I really do lean on our coaching staff to recruit guys because I don't want to be that general manager or owner at this level to build a team and say, here you go, right? Like,
have fun, go at it.
Yeah, like this league is about developing, and it's not just players we're talking about. We're talking about the coaches. We're talking about the interns. We're talking about everybody else involved with us, and they need to learn too, right? So being able to build your own team is a big part of that when you're a coach. And so we give them that responsibility. And to be quite honest, they have a lot of connections that we don't at the team level. So they know coaches throughout the country because they've grown up with these guys, or they've seen these players throughout the country because they go to showcases recruiting and they go to these tournaments or they play against them. Most of our guys are college coaches, right? So they see all these players all the time. So they're like, hey, I know this kid. I know he's a good kid. I know he's got a great bat, or man, he's got an arm. I want to put him out in right field, or whatever it is. It just makes sense for me to give our coaches that freedom to go out and sign guys.
Okay. And which level of baseball do you guys do a lot of recruiting? Is it like lower level Division 1, 2? Where do you guys get your players from?
Yeah, it's really all over the place from JUCO up to Division 1. Like I said, we had a Stanford commit last year play for us. So most of our guys are that JUCO and Division 2 or mid-major D1 guys. Okay. But we really have to recruit across the board because all of those seasons end at different points, right? So when we start May 25th, we got to make sure we have enough guys here May 25th because D1 guys are going till June 3rd. Yeah. So they're not going to get in, right? So when we build that roster, we have to have a mix. Otherwise, we're going to get caught with our pants down and have 7 guys here for game 1. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And some of the JUCO guys, I mean, I remember watching a game 2-3 years ago. I remember what team it was, but they had 13 SEC players on their team, and their closer was this kid from Iowa Wesleyan Junior College or something. And he was hitting almost 100 on the gun. Well, he was going to Auburn next year. So they actually had 14. But seriously, some of the JUCO guys you get are progressing to that next level, and you get some real talent from those guys.
Well, also don't forget some of those JUCO guys because of grades a lot of the times too.
Yeah, sometimes it's or they just want to play.
They wanted a chance at a shot at playing.
Our kid at Stanford probably won't see the field until next year or the year after that, right? Because he's going to a big pond right now, and so a lot of these guys are talented enough to go Division 1. but they want to play out of the gates as freshmen. They want to get in 40
Exactly.
games every spring. And I love having junior college guys. Some of our most successful guys, one of them being signed as a non-drafted free agent the day of the draft, last day of the draft last year with the Washington Nationals, was a JUCO guy. It's just it's a personal preference for a lot of these guys. Do I want to play every day, or do I want to be a small fish in this giant lake that might see the field in year 3?
Yeah.
Because if you're good enough to play day 1, you're probably drafted as a high school guy.
Yeah.
And
So
there's a lot of guys also that they just physically don't come into their bodies.
That's
Right?
true.
They need that extra 2 years after high school to really
Yeah.
fill out, and then you've got somebody that's been scrappy their whole career to get to that point, and now they got the body to go with it.
To your point, Eric, how do you guys handle, like, do you guys get a lot of scouts in your games, you know, looking at your players? Do they let you guys know if they're coming in? You know, want to get to know a little bit more about that side of the business.
Yeah, so I've never been notified ahead of time that a scout's coming, but typically it's pretty easy to spot, especially in our small ballpark. It's it's one guy buying a ticket right behind home plate, and I know most
may have a notepad writing things down.
They think Andrew and I were scouts, so they were like, "Oh wow, look at this dork in the Christmas jersey."
Yeah, it's pretty easy to spot. You just kind of know, but it's not super common because there's so much video these days. I mean, we live stream everything on YouTube with 4 camera angles, so it's good enough production where if they want to watch somebody, they can watch them.
I'm sorry, 4 camera production.
I know, Ed. I know exactly what you're thinking. 4 cameras.
Hold on a second. I'm trying to get an affiliated team to stream with 1 camera, and you guys got 4.
There's a AA team that I won't mention that literally puts 1 camera on the top of the net behind home plate and goes, "We're TV."
It blows my mind that it's so easy to do. We have a center field camera. We got another one like shooting, the home plate look from the lineups. Not spit out words, but anyway, that home plate look, and then the crow's nest one, and then we have a manned camera that goes around with an intern with an iPad. That's all it is. And
Jeez.
No, there's no excuse, and I do think that's one of the rules MLB put in place when they took over everything was eventually within like 2 or 3 years,
Everything's like by 2025, they all got to be having
streaming in high definition.
Yeah.
For just the reason you're saying. All right, Eric. So we have some fun rapid fire questions as we close this out.
All right.
Love this.
One of these questions are, it's going to really judge mankind on what your answer is. So,
oh boy.
Sure.
Yeah, I know which question that is.
Yeah. All right. Question number 1. What is your favorite part of the off season?
My favorite part is to take a week, decompress, and just sleep. And then after that, it's really to get going. And I really enjoy the off-season grind of working with our partners and advertisers and sponsors. And that's what I do a lot of. And it's just getting to meet with them, talk with them, and come up with great ideas for promotions the next year. So kind of that talking with them and then building next year's plan as far as theme nights, promos, and that kind of thing. I really enjoy that.
You got 2 kids under 3. How do you get any sleep ever?
I have one and I barely sleep.
I'm blessed with kids that have slept through the night since they're 6 months old.
Oh,
I'm done with this guy.
Don't say that out loud. That's the end of the interview. All right, Eric, this actually happened to be on the list. It's so random. Did you know I was a Longhorn fan before you Stanford?
I did, but I wasn't thinking about that when I asked the question.
Okay,
that's a good answer.
That's a good answer.
With the walk-off thing.
We were in the walk-off topic. Okay, fair. No, that's good.
Eric, I am Venmoing you the $20. I told you I'll pay you if you ask him that question. So
I like it.
All right. All right, Eric, here it is, man. Godfather 1 or 2?
I got to go with 1. They are movies I haven't seen a lot, to be honest. But I did enjoy both. But hold a gun in my head, I'll just say 1.
I'm surprised by the number of people. I had a run of, I've never seen them. And I'm like, you should stop this interview now and go watch The Godfather.
Yeah, go watch it.
What do you got to do so important you can't watch The Godfather?
But then you got to watch one and two,
I've
so you
seen
got to
them,
set
but
aside like 6 hours.
I probably watched each one maybe twice, and it's probably been 12 to 15 years since the last time I saw it.
You're killing me, Schmidt. All right.
Sorry.
Another movie question. Star Wars, Harry Potter, or Fast and the Furious?
Definitely. I'm not the Star Wars guy. I'm not a Harry Potter guy, so I got to go Fast and the Furious just because that's the only one of those series that I actually watch.
End the interview. End it right now.
That might end the interview.
I'm okay with this answer.
Not everybody in the world has to like everything everybody else likes. Like,
very true.
Yeah, I would like you to like something of some degree of quality. That's what I want.
But what Eric is saying,
I'm not saying Fast and the Furious is quality. I'm just saying that's the only one I've actually watched.
It's just entertainment. That's what it is.
Jim, what he's also saying is by putting Fast and the Furious there, the subtext is that he's about family. Because every Fast and Furious movie,
you're right, Scott.
Is about family.
You're right. And you are right. They do run a family organization up there in Spearfish. So
I like. Oh, good tie-in. I like that.
All right.
All
right. I swear, Eric, this was just happened to be on the random questions list. When will dad hats be for sale at the Spearfish Sasquatch?
I will do my best. I'll talk to our merchandise person, who happens to be my wife, that brings in a lot of that stuff, and see what she wants to do there.
Maybe one, just one.
I will say this though, dad hats notwithstanding, you guys actually have a really great selection of merch.
Yeah, they do.
I have lots of it. So
I mean, the logo is amazing.
Which one?
Your primary logo, your secondary logo.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so good. That's why I want to. But I got to keep with the brand. You know what I'm saying, Eric? I got to keep with the brand.
Yeah, I know you got to be. I understand completely, and I feel your pain. But
I want to support you, darn it.
You'll be the first to know. You'll be the first to know.
Eric, if you want to keep Jim off your back about this, just sign him to a 1-day unpaid contract, and he'll never say another word about asking you for hat. Am I right, Jim? There you go.
Hey,
look at you.
Be a 1-day contract.
If we ever change the rules where we can have like one like legacy player or one guy that doesn't have to be on a collegiate roster, which is what our rules are now, we can make that happen, Jim.
You should call it you should put it at the senior citizen level, and then you should be in good shape. Oh, I'm sorry that I said.
Jim, what I heard is if you've got any eligibility left, go take a few hours.
I wonder if I do. I have to go look how that.
I got to check my eligibility at this point. Now I want to be part of this thing.
Check your eligibility, and then you have to be on a roster, so you got to make a team.
Oh yeah. That's okay. There's some small schools that need your help, Jim. Even yours.
That seems like
NAIA schools will take your money to put you on the roster. I promise you.
It was like you just slide an envelope and I'm like, you're in.
Congratulations, starting shortstop.
Right.
Okay, speaking of hats, though, are you a dad hat guy, flex fit, or fitted?
I definitely go fit. I go fitted for sure. I mean, I'm wearing a trucker hat, but fitted is the way to go. I wear, it's almost a youth size, 6 and 7/8, but it works.
It's funny, Ed. I was at the Astros game the last 2 nights, and I had packed in my hat box like 5 boxes for 3 days because that's what we do.
Of course,
I forgot all of them, so I had to go to the game without a hat, and I had to buy one. And I wanted to buy a dad hat so I could get it and get it to the club, but I was like, I cannot have the brand of me being the not dad hat guy.
You can't. That's what it is. Once I made the decision to go dad hat, it just I can't. It's blasphemy.
All right, last question, and actually everybody can answer this question. Now, when I pose this comparison, you have to understand that they have the same access to weight rooms and dietitians and all the technology.
Okay.
Ohtani versus Babe Ruth, if they're on a level playing field. Eric, we'll start with you. Who do you got?
Oh man, you can't. How do you even figure that out? I don't. You're saying they have, like, if Babe Ruth played today and had all the access Ohtani does.
Had all the dietitians, had all the cameras.
I think it's Ohtani because his competition is far above what Babe Ruth ever saw.
Except, okay, Ohtani's your answer. Except they had a dead ball at that time, and you had fewer dilution of talent because you had fewer teams.
What?
All right, what, Scott?
Black people weren't allowed to play.
Oh, there it is.
So you didn't have a delusion of talent. You had a lot less talent. Walter Big Train Johnson, who was by far the heaviest thrower of the time, looking back, was really hitting about 93 on the gun. However, Babe Ruth was using a bat that was like 44, 46 ounces. So, I mean, I can...
And he was eating hot dogs and drinking beer while he was doing
it. I do think if Babe Ruth... I think if Babe Ruth was in today's world, I think he'd be John Daly. I think he'd be the John Daly of baseball. I really do. I think there would be there's obviously some significant talent. He'd have a year or two that were just amazing and people would latch on to him. But the better overall player who's going to earn more money is Ohtani. I feel like I would much rather invest $1 billion in Shohei Ohtani than Babe Ruth.
Okay.
Babe's going to drink it.
Yeah. I was just going to say, one, just because Babe Ruth has access to all of that stuff does not mean that he was going to use any of that stuff. Let's just be honest about that one, okay? He was smoking, drinking, and eating his hot dogs on the bench, so he's not going to do any of that. He is like the David Wells of baseball. Okay? That's what it is right there. Point two, the level of competition is much better now with Ohtani because he's playing a multicultural group. Babe Ruth played against, Negro Leagues baseball players, and he would be the first one admitted he probably wouldn't have been able to keep up with half of those players. So it was diluted. So I'm going to go Ohtani just because that dude is about to be the highest, he's going to sign the highest contract ever by a Major League Baseball player that we've ever seen in our lifetime.
And Ed's got proof behind what he was saying because the traveling leagues in the summer, there are stories of Cool Papa Bell and those guys just mowing down just Babe Ruth.
Yeah. And he was like, yeah,
The question's fun.
The question's a blast.
Great question. Great question.
Outstanding.
Well, speaking of fun, Eric, thanks so much.
Who would you take, Jim? Who would you take?
Yeah.
I would probably take Babe Ruth just because it seemed like he had superior hand-eye coordination to anybody that's played the game, and I think that would probably be one of the more important things. But
can he throw 100?
I mean, again, we won't know because he didn't have all of the first of all, the ball was heavier then. And
True.
It was less, it was randomly wound, so who knew what you were going to get?
Yeah.
You're also allowed to throw pitches that are straight up illegal nowadays.
Yeah. I was just gonna
say, get that sandpaper, please.
So,
yeah. I think having the Stros be in Ohtani's division, get to watch him a lot, so it's super cool. And the Astros are the only team that regularly beats him, which I think he's lost 2 games this year, both of them to the Stros, and got knocked around in both of them. So, but you cannot deny what he is doing. I think I told Scott, I was like, eventually he'll have to pick one. And the fact is he's gotten better when they didn't do this stupid rotation of he doesn't, So
yeah.
There you go. Well, that does wrap up this episode of Let's Get To. Make sure you're following the Spearfish Sasquatch. All the links will be in the description of this episode tomorrow. Eric, good luck on the season, and thanks for jumping on.
Good luck, Eric.
Eric, I hope I can bag a
man.
Sasquatch. When I bag a Sasquatch, I want 2 free season tickets, but I will bag the Sasquatch.
Okay. Go to Oklahoma. They sell licenses. I'm serious.
Yeah, you don't know which ones are the Sasquatch. And which
Eric
ones
he actually means if he beds a Sasquatch, and he's probably done that.
No, that's I could have had that 20 years ago.
You're out.